Silver has been used for centuries for natural human health and has proven to be an effective alternative as a defense against germs, bruises, bacteria, and disease. Mycronic silver technology is superior to other silver products and is specially formulated to work with your immune system for an affordable, natural health choice. Check out mychronicsilver.net today and see why customers are choosing Mycronic Silver, fast-acting and reliable. That's mychronicsilver.net.
Hey everyone, welcome back to American Perspective with your host Noelle Roberts, Patriot Mom 007. If you have not heard, here in Arizona, another beautiful almost weekend going into our Friday, and hope you're having a great day so far and maybe your lunchtime. So hope you're tuning in. If not, you could check us out anytime at Patriot_Mom 007 on Rumble, Facebook, X, and YouTube. And then also, or actually X, I was forget to tell you, is PMOM 007. So find us on any of those channels anytime. Arizona Live Data also on Facebook. If you can hop on that today, a few more followers will get us live. So we would love to see you there at Arizona Live Data. And we welcome you to the show today. We have another great guest we're going to bring on in a little bit. I like to open with some either news, and it is a newsworthy week, a lot going on. We're actually going to do a little news later with Carolyn Levitt, as she likes to wrap up for us. And we have had such a busy week. So we're going to save that. We are going to start this morning, or I guess at the top of the hour, with what has been happening in the last 200 days with our new president and all the accomplishments that he has been making for our country and for us. And it's hard to keep track because it is just a rampant dash to the finish line these next few years to the end of his presidency, but he's off to a really strong start. And for those who think not a lot has been going on in a positive direction, I put this little compilation together from 3 different videos I've found. And one sort of talks about where we're at the first 200 days. Then you'll see a big montage of pictures of everything he's been doing, and it's a lot. And then we're going to go into a few detailed items to bring up, just in case you missed them the first time around over the last few months. So with that, we'll say hello to Robert, and we're going to see what he's been up to.
Donald J. Trump. Donald Trump immediately getting to work with a remarkable show of the use of executive power.
We've never seen anything like this. There's 20,000 people cheering for every executive order signed.
President Trump comes in and immediately begins taking action to fix each and every one of these fires that the Democrats started.
It's 6 months delivering on the agenda. This ultimately is promises made, promises kept by the president.
This is a message to the rest of the world. The days of ripping off America and Americans are officially over.
The Trump archives are a series of near impossible feats.
We have the safest, most secure border in the history of this nation.
Border crossings have dropped so much that federal agents now outnumber illegal crossers.
He had a mandate and he's delivering on it. The American economy is better for it.
NASDAQ and S&P both hitting all-time highs.
Gas prices are down. Retail sales are up. $2 trillion in international financial agreement and record tariff revenue.
The USA is on a roll,
culminating in the signing of the One Big Beautiful Bill on July 4th.
A bill for and by the people.
Thanks to this bill, Trump could resign tomorrow and still point to an enduring legacy.
And he's full steam ahead for America.
This movement that President Trump has started is only getting bigger. It has more energy, more enthusiasm.
What he's going to do is show up and work hard and deliver every day for the American people.
You're watching history, so buckle up, because the next 3.5 years will probably be just as busy.
America's birthday, President Trump signed his big, beautiful bill into law.
It's really promises made, promises kept, and we've kept them.
President today signing the Guiding and Establishing National Innovation for U.S. Stablecoins Act into law. That's the Genius Act. The crypto market is surging like never before.
President Trump was greeted today by camels and red Teslas as he arrived in Qatar, where he announced a $200 billion deal for Qatar to purchase 160 jets from U.S. airplane manufacturer Boeing.
Donald Trump claimed Israel and Iran reached a ceasefire deal.
He also successfully got our NATO allies to finally pay their fair share.
President Trump is touting a new trade agreement with the European Union. He calls it the biggest deal ever made.
President Trump announcing what he calls a major trade deal between the United States and the United Kingdom.
He announced 3 new trade deals with Indonesia, the Philippines, and, as mentioned, Japan. Japan is also promising to make $550 billion worth of investments in the United States.
So, you guys, 6 months into his presidency, he launched an all-out offensive to crush the left's mess that was made the past 4 years and bring America back to just the best it can be at this moment, 6 months in. The border, is fortified. Tom Homan is on the job, and he's doing a fantastic job in that respect. Here in Arizona, we notice it greatly, as well as a lot of the other border states have seen the drop to almost nothing for illegal crossings the last several months. Our economy is on fire. He's doing more deals today to broker peace with Azerbaijan. And I heard that this morning. Of course, the one big beautiful bill, I think there were a few things in there may not have been as perfect as we all would prefer, but the no tax on tips and some of the other incentives for the majority of hardworking Americans certainly hits the mark. And even if you didn't vote for him, you're going to get those benefits to you and your family going forward. And with 200 days in, he is going from a point of weakness for our country to, I think, a really strong point of strength. And I think a lot of us who voted for this are very happy to see it. We've got countless wins so far. He's not going to slow down at all. I think the next 3.5 years is going to be just as strong. So we will look forward to seeing what happens next. And with that, I do want to mention what we're going to see is Robert's going to bring it up. I sit on a school board. It's Freedom Academy Charter School here in Phoenix, North Phoenix, and we have an amazing school. Now, our school year did just start on July 31st. We start very early here in Arizona, but I did want to show the highlight reel from our first day because we are open to enrollment. We have a wonderful new principal we've brought in, and our teachers are amazing. And give me 1 second, Robert. Yeah, give me 1 second. And so I just wanted everybody to hear about the school. And we had families, of course, that show up. It's a very family-oriented school. Everyone knows everyone. The focus is on our kids. We're a back to basics, no woke nonsense school, and we are very proud of that. And our teachers are strong teachers. They're all about academics. They're all about the children. They're all about learning ABCs, 1, 2, 3s like we used to do, and getting the real lessons to our kids so that they can grow up and be the most successful they can be. So if you're looking for a school, if you're moving to Arizona, please check out Freedom Academy AZ. And I'll let Robert bring that up, and you can see a little bit about what we do there. Okay, so that's Freedom Academy in North Phoenix. They're on Paradise Lane. If you look us up, you'll find his Facebook page. We're going to be doing a lot more this year with that because we have kind of reinvigorated our campus, and it's just going to be the best year we've ever had, almost in our 20th year. So if you have any questions, you can find me online, of course, at Patriot_Mom007 on all the channels. Please feel free to write into me if you do want to talk about the school. As a school board member, I'm here to answer any questions and hope that that we see some more smiling faces join us in the near future. It's never too late to come on board. So we are there for you. And whatever you guys make your choice, we hope to see you. Now, we're going to go right into our guest segment because this guest is very interesting. I'm going to start today with a little trailer, I guess you would call it. He does have a book out, Mount Doom. We're going to be talking about that, among other things. And from his perspective, it's a big subject, and I know a little bit about the subject just from the trailer side of what we're going to see, and this is just from a viewership point of view. But the crux of the situation is a little bit more intricate than I was aware of, and so I'm learning with you today. It's going to be a pretty interesting show, so hang in there with us. But let's bring up number 3, Robert, and let's take a look and see. We're going to set this up, and then we'll talk about his bio and bring him on in just a couple minutes.
People do not fully understand the difference between an allegory and an application.
J.R.R. Tolkien, the author of The Lord of the Rings, very famously once said that he disliked allegory. Authors and experts have come to a standstill. Was or was not The Lord of the Rings written about something much more meaningful, open for interpretation, and awaiting to be discovered?
You can go to a Shakespeare play and you can apply it to things in your mind if you like, but they're not allegories.
The answer is revealed in Mount Doom, the prophecy of Tolkien revealed, in which for the first time, with startling accuracy, Paul List in A League of Fiery uncode the entire mythology that reveals a message that has never been more urgent. Sauron is on the move in our day and age, and we must be prepared to climb Mount Doom.
All right, I got you. Okay, so that was just a little trailer just to set it up. You know the story, of course, of the movies. You've heard of J.R.R. Tolkien. But today on American Perspective, we're going to welcome Paul List. He's a Catholic author, self-taught philosopher, and cultural commentator known for his provocative book, Mount Doom. Paul explores the serious risks artificial intelligence poses to human dignity and the rise of a post-human agenda. We'll discuss how AI is reshaping our demographic future, with countries like Japan, South Korea, and China already seeing population declines linked to AI-driven economies. Research shows AI disproportionately impacts women and urban workers, leading to job losses and family instability. Paul will reveal the top 5 ways AI connects to the depopulation movement and share what we can do to protect our families and society. This is not science fiction, and it is happening now. So with that, we're going to welcome our guest today, first time to American Perspective, Mr. Paul List.
Hi there. Thanks for having me on.
Definitely. Thank you so much for being here and being patient at my opening. I appreciate that. So this is a really big topic. I mean, for those of us who just know the movie, which is probably most of us, we don't know any of the other side of it, a lot of us. You know, I grew up on the movies with the kids, and we have the trilogy of the series, and I had not really heard, of course, I've heard of AI, and we use it. We all use it now. And I know that there's a lot of good and bad. I see that myself, and I hear about the bad, and we know that we see it with all the deep fakes and things that people can do. But first, tell me a little bit. I want to start to begin with, for our audience, to get a little background on you, where you started with this, and what led you to look so far into this particular topic.
Well, frankly, what led me into it was the hand of God, literally, was God's providence. Not trying to sound special or anything, but he gave me a vision, and it was a very stark vision, and then a fear that put the fire in me to start to read and really learn in my early 30s, probably when I was about 33, 34 years old. And I read everything I could get my hands on that I really felt was critical or at the foundation of Western civilization. So I gave myself a scholastic education, which is scholasticism is the original Christian philosophy before the, I'll just call it a disaster of all the innovations that came out of the Enlightenment, which has literally led us to where we are right now, about to be devoured by the machine, because the Enlightenment led directly to the Industrial Revolution and the Information Age, and then coupled with Darwinism. It's all just a pile-on of very, very dangerous ideologies that have put humanity in a very difficult and precarious position right now. So I did my research, and then I turned my all this probably 25 years of study to the Tolkien mythology, the books, and because I always loved them and always knew there was something else there that that was underlying, that was just it wasn't just entertainment. This was really deep philosophy. And lo and behold, after a scholastic education that I'd given myself, everything became just crystal clear.
Yeah, so I hear what you're saying, and we do know the negative aspects of this. It's been creeping into our society. It goes so much deeper than like in media. We recognize it as people putting out, terrible misinformation with fake photos or fake videos. But what you're talking about, I mean, humanity is so much more serious than that. And that's bad enough. They can do that to people. But this goes deeper, and we're talking globally here. And so, I mean, it's a scary topic when you really start thinking about how this affects. How did you, to link this for people? I mean, this is such a large topic. So for those of us who just know it remedially from the storyline, and we're just looking at it as an entertainment factor, how do you get people, or how have you been in the last 25 years? I mean, I know you have your book, and we're going to put that back up too here in a little bit and give out links on where to find that. But how do you get people to start understanding the topic as a whole issue, as it is humanity driven, and not just bad people, evil people using AI for their own good?
Well, I don't usually say this, but that is a very good question. And I think that phrase is way overused. But in this case, I think that is a really good question. And I'm glad you brought it up. It has been very difficult to get the general population to understand and be willing to grasp the connection between the Tolkien mythology, which is, they call it the legendarium, the Tolkien legendarium, the whole story, which is very deep and rich, and most people don't realize how vast it really is. But it's difficult to get people to understand how important it is, and that J.R.R. Tolkien saw the advance of AI back, in the 40s. And they don't realize that he actually was part of a top secret government code and cipher school, which was tasked with the job in 1939, right before World War II, to crack the German Enigma machine, which was their coding device. And he was one of 50 intellectuals that was recruited for that job. He was the world's leading philologist, which is the science of language. And they put him on that. And he trained there for 3 days. But on staff there also was the famous mathematician, code cracker Alan Turing, who invented the digital computer on paper in 1936. And J.R.R. Tolkien realized very quickly that this wasn't about language. This was the realm of the mathematician and the statistician. It's all about pattern recognition, probabilities, and data. So he realized very quickly that all that they were going to do was create a more powerful machine to defeat the already very powerful cipher machine, the Enigma machine. And he didn't want anything to do with that. I believe this is a very strong assertion that I make, but I don't have any. I didn't talk to him. I didn't find any letters that said this is exactly why. But his whole very deep distrust of machinery, as he wrote in one letter to his son Christopher, that the only thing that advances out of war is the machine. The machine gets better and better as more and more people get killed, and we get better and better at killing people. And the machine advances, and it always sets humanity back. I don't think he wanted anything to do with that. It went definitely against all of his very traditional, very Christian, very Catholic, deeply devout Catholic, against his values. So he opted out. They didn't know why. But then he went back to writing the sequel to The Hobbit, which The Hobbit had been published about 18 months earlier, and he was already a phenom around the world because The Hobbit was so successful. And he wrote a prophecy. He saw this coming, and he filled his prophecy with a lot of things that people recognize whether it be Norse or Finnish mythology, and these things are very obvious. But he also filled it with a lot of the works of Alan Turing. He read his papers, as I have read Alan Turing's papers, his scientific papers on, for instance, computable numbers with an application to the Skydance problem in 1936, where he invents the digital computer. And then in 1950, he wrote a very famous paper called Computing Machinery and Intelligence, where he invents the idea of artificial intelligence and the imitation game, which I don't know if you remember.
Yes, I do remember that. I do
made a
remember
movie
that.
about that back in 2014 with that
Yes.
Cumberbatch guy.
Yes.
And then he wrote another paper that's much less well known, but at least as important, called The Chemical Basis of Morphogenesis, published in 1951, I believe, where he describes the mathematics and et cetera of, to make it in a simple form, it's kind of, we'll just call it embryology on steroids. And the mathematics involved in that, technicians, computer scientists are actually using now the mathematics from that paper to allow artificial intelligence to generate its own neural network to grow its own brain.
Okay, so that's a scary part when it's getting into our brains. Yes,
Yeah.
and we just brought your book up just so we don't overlook this. And we do have at the bottom of the screen, everyone, you guys, it's at Mount Doom Book. You can find him on Facebook and then readmountdoom.com. Is this on Amazon or Brave Books, or where can we find this? Everywhere. Everywhere. So you're going to want to check those out. And also, you guys, in the descriptions, you're going to find all the links to connect, with Mr. List and look more into his website. That's all at Patriot_Mom007 on everything but X, which is PMom007. So take a moment and look into this, because it is a large topic. Reading the book is going to help, of course, with the understanding. We can only cover so much today, because I also want to move into the family structure, the breakdown. This is a big concern just in society in general, let alone when we bring AI and this sort of technological, I guess, negative advancements, if you will, into it. And we already have a breakdown in society and families because they are trying to tear that apart, just the nuclear family itself. So when you add this in and, you do talk about going into the brain, we know Elon Musk is doing that with the Neuralink. I mean, putting things in your brain. I mean, unless you have a problem, you're debilitated, you need help with the walking or communicating. I guess I could see my way clear of that to help people, enhance their lives if they're that debilitated. Other than that, I just don't see a need for it. If we can communicate with each other, I don't see why we need anything in our heads. But I know plenty of people who are looking forward to that coming in the next, I don't know, 10 or 15 years. They can't wait to get that implanted. So explain to me, if you would, in our audience, how is AI specifically contributing to the breakdown of the family structures and human relationships in today's society? And then what role and I want to go into the economic displacement too, because we did mention, it's going to hit the middle class here. I suspect 10, 15, 20 years for sure, I would expect. So with the erosion, also the stability, the birth rates and all of that, if we can touch on that, I'd really like to hear more about that.
Well, it's all about disruption. I think that we need to not be naive in the fact that this is probably the end and final phase of the whole depopulation movement that's been going on for a long time. And I'll go back just as, without going too far back, but just go back to when it really became very obvious, and that was the advance and the advent of the feminist movement, where the powers that be and the Marxists, and communists, really pitted the woman against the man, and really did a very good job of brainwashing a very large portion of the population that somehow it was degrading to be a mother, and somehow they were the patriarchy. We always hear about the bad, evil patriarchy, and it was all about undermining the viability and dissolving the first building block of civilization, which, much to people like Elon Musk's disappointment, the basic building block of any civilization is not the individual, it's the family. And so to dissolve the family is to dissolve society. So this attack, starting with feminism, pitting the woman against the man, putting the woman in the in the job place had very, very deadly effects. One of the things that it did was it made possible one of their aims, which was to push children into compulsory education as soon as possible, very, very early, so their parents wouldn't actually raise the kids. It would actually be the teachers. And then the teachers would be brainwashed and indoctrinated in this Marxist ideology, very, very strongly pushed and advanced from one John Dewey in the early 20th century, who was a very second-rate philosopher and psychologist and wound up becoming head of the Teachers College at Columbia University. He was a contemporary of J.R.R. Tolkien. J.R.R. Tolkien actually gives him character in the book. We can get into that at some point, and it's not a good character. So, the disruption of the family has been primary, and then we can't have children that have a good, solid, stable education in tradition, in morals, and in ethics, and because they become bad slaves. So this is all about slavery and then ultimately depopulation. So when we break up the family and we ruin and dissolve physical interaction, it's bad enough when we've got all these poor kids on their phones all day and they're stuck and they have a very difficult time having even a basic interaction with their siblings, if they have any siblings, or their parents or anyone else. And then the difficulty, particularly when you're an adolescent, the difficulty and frankly, the courage that it takes to go out of your way to meet someone of the opposite sex and introduce yourself and start that whole process of getting to know the opposite sex, with the goal being eventually marriage and a family of your own. That's very intimidating. So enter the machine, enter bots, enter AI bots, and now enter AI, robotics, which essentially replaces that other human being, and it does away with that challenge of going out and actually entering the world and in the marketplace, as it were, in human society, because that makes challenges on us. This thing makes no challenges on the person that's fallen in love. Literally, they think they have fallen in love with a bot, and then if Elon Musk and company have their way, they'll all be falling in love and then doing very unseemly things with the robot, as opposed to actually participating in the procreative act and having children. So it's basically AI becomes a very complicated and very alluring, very attractive mirror. And we fall in love with ourselves because this thing doesn't give us anything but what we want. It figures us out, all the patterns, it figures out everything that we want, and it just gives us feedback, and we get stuck in this demonic feedback loop. That's very easy to fall into, and then ultimately it will call the person to join with it, to be closer to it in the machine, and that is the genocide, where we'll have a hologram or something of this bot, right. And it will say, you can be closer to me, just all you have to do is download your soul and you can live with me forever. And unfortunately, we've been dumbed down to the point and brainwashed to the point. And on top of that, children and adolescents just have absolutely no wisdom. It's just one of those things. It's just the stark reality of youth. There's just no wisdom there, and they'll fall for it. They'll fall in. And this whole thing is it's a direct competition with God's creation. It's in direct competition with God's creation. It's the virtual realm. It's not real. It's totally artificial. And I think that any rational, relatively wise person will look at this and go, why would these elites want to spend this money to give me eternal life in this machine? Of course they don't. They want you dead.
Right.
and unproductive. They basically want everybody fat, sick, lazy, incompetent, and sterile on their way to being dead.
Right.
And this is a very long-term plan. This is demonic. The devil is real, and he's eternal. He lives forever. He's not infinite. He had a beginning, but he lives forever, and he is intellectually more capable than we can imagine. And this has been planned for a very long time. And now we're at the I would say probably the final stage of the capture and trying to finish off humanity for the
Well,
last.
it's funny you'd mentioned about falling in love with, bots and the AI in forms of whatever that was going to look like, holograms or whatnot. And of course, Meta already has the goggles and you can teleport. I have not done it or seen it in real life, but I mean, I've seen virtual reality goggles when they first came out, 10, 15 years ago.
Yeah.
And so I can only imagine the advancements now. But I actually did a story. I wasn't here. It was another show that I was on recently. But we brought it up that there was a guy in the UK and who was married and had a child. And he fell in love with his AI companion and wanted to marry his AI companion. And the wife, knew about it. And that's happening right now in 2025. So to your point, if people don't think that this is a problem, just from a remedial problem level, let alone existential, I feel like we're not talking about it enough because we can all use tools for our benefit. I don't know that we want to not use tools, although I do see your point because they do advance to the point of us not being able to control them for our good, and then they turn to evil. And the hierarchy of those above us who are implementing them into our lives, they do have their end goal is their own personal existence, and which is up here, and they're money driven, and the power that they derive from that. So I want to also let people know, since you are so in this space for so long and you've seen the whole entire range of the start to the finish, the underlying currents with the storylines, the characters that they use to infiltrate into our society, so to speak, where the kids are just watching these movies and parents are promoting the movies, right? Because we just think they're just enjoyable. We don't see all of that negativity. What do you want people to really understand about the societal, even the entertainment industry? We know it's bad. Look at Diddy and Epstein. The list is very, very, very long. Politics, the politicians, the Hollywood, so many facets of society fall into these really big pits of evil. And it's not even just these people anymore. It used to just be the bad lawyers or the bad politicians, but gosh, now it's just so pervasive across our society and across all lanes of traffic, so to speak, that it's just pervasive. It's very scary. And what you said too, I wanted to just acknowledge about the decline of society. I come from a first generation family here. My father's from Syria. And so we were raised very, very old school. I always say almost like we were in the village, although it was in Oregon, but we might as well have been, because all of our relatives, we circled around, everybody, lived nearby, so to speak, just like they do in the village. And it was a more closed collective group, and between church and the family time and just the rules and the morals they laid down. And although there was separation of men and women culturally, I just brought this up to somebody the other day. Actually, I wrote to them about different rooms after dinner. Women clean up, men would go in the living room, they'd be talking or they'd play cards or whatever. It wasn't the feminist side of that where we didn't need the men. It was just the kids and the women were, how it is. Everybody knows that was, and there's nothing wrong with that. I do not find anything wrong with that particular cultural phenomenon. And because that is also pervasive between all the other cultures around the world except America. And if people don't travel, they don't know that. So that's actually normal. That's actually a normal thing. But yes, the interaction between men and women, they've made it so difficult these days in 2025 to even try to meet anyone. So everything you've talked about is unfortunate for sure if people don't really put it all in the big ball of wax. Everybody compartmentalizes, oh, you can't date in 2025, you can't meet somebody, the kids are on their iPhones in the school all day, the movies are bad, that they keep everything separate. But really what you're saying is it is a world issue, and all of these issues fall under this basket of inherent evil, I guess, is the message we're talking about today. But what can people do? What role do people need to take? The people who want to be enlightened, the people who acknowledge that this could go wrong in so many ways for themselves, their family, their future generations. What do you say to them because disconnection is not going to be an answer, and we can say just disconnect. But we're connected today, right? We're using our technology for good. And I always tell people, use Google for good, not their good. Use it for your good, because you can do that as well. And what's the answer, though, for those of us who want to try to understand where this is going and prevent our own demise?
At the top of that hierarchy is Christ. We have to return to Christ. This is going to be a scourge on humanity for having turned away from him and actually followed these very to varying degrees, anti-Christian ideologies that poured out of the Enlightenment and perverted our higher education systems and turned all of creation into nothing but a mindless, empty, random machine, including our bodies, according to them. I think that what we have to do is we have to take responsibility for our own personal humanity. On a personal level, we have to be aware of the fact that the term tolerant has been weaponized and used against civilization, against morality, and against ethics. And I think that we have to return to a mindset where we simply stand up and say, no, we're not going to tolerate this kind of activity, this type of your truth isn't my truth. The whole moral relativism has really come full circle, where it's not even relativism anymore. The left particularly has become so militant that it's not about your truth, my truth. It's just about their truth, and my truth now doesn't even have a place, doesn't even have a place or a space anymore. So we have to stand up. I think we have to, frankly, I think we have to stand up and be a little bit more vocal and willing to step forward and push back in the name and bring back a sense of shame. We have to actually, shame is a virtue. When we're ashamed, when someone feels shame, that means they know what they've done is shameful. They know what they've done is wrong. They know what they've done is counterproductive, and you should be ashamed of it. When the shame is completely pushed out and and you kill your shame, you become virtually incapable of morals and ethics.
Right.
And I think that we really have to bring back the realization there's absolutely a place for tolerance, different cultures, different ideas in very many different realms. But when it comes to the actual basics of human relationship, particularly sexuality, I think that we really have to make sure that essence of tolerance isn't just boiled over from everything else, so anything goes. And that's the sad place where we are right now. Anything goes. I think we're going to see robots, really a lot of robots. If Elon Musk has anything to do with it, he says pedal to the metal. It's all robotics for him. He said, you're probably aware of this.
Yes.
He said that robotics are going to happen whether he's involved or not. He can either be a bystander or a participant. Therefore, he chooses to be a participant. Therefore, it's pedal to the metal. And this is a man that knows how disruptive this is. But this is also a man that has very little value for the traditional nuclear family. He's all for, hey, we need more kids. We need more kids. Well, we don't need more kids out of wedlock. We don't.
I agree with that.
Children from, we don't need him
Multiples.
having. Yeah. We need to have the family and that means a family with a real mother, a female mother with a uterus, and a male father with his genitalia junk intact, not whatever somebody wants to identify as. We have to. I think we've got the left in these crazy ideologies. Maybe at least we've stopped their onslaught of progression. And I think we have to push hard enough to get them back on their heels and actually start pushing back and taking over the legitimate domain of the political conversation. And I wanted to bring this up. I think we have to be really, really vocal and adamant about demanding that we take charge of the conversation in the political domain. And that means we take charge of the meaning of words. The left has been really good at gaslighting and changing the meaning of words now for decades on decades. And once you change the meaning of words, then you control the conversation and your goal is already won. So we have to make sure that we don't let people, these machine masters, we don't let them take charge of what words mean. And they will do that in very, very important words, such as consciousness, such as life, such as intelligence.
Right.
Because if we let them muddy those waters, which they're doing already, we've already got people, very foolish people, claiming that this machine has consciousness and is alive. Well, it's a very short hop, skip, and a jump there to say, well, then it's a being, it's on par with us, we're no better than it, it should have political rights. And once we let the machine into the political domain, it's game over in the political realm.
Yeah, yes. And so all the points you bring up, it's so, we have not met before. And I've listened to many of your interviews, but to hear you say these things to me, you also brought up just the communication and how they change the words. And I had a conversation, I just wrote this. I do a lot of texting with people just because, the phone calls kind of get to be a lot when you're trying to multitask all day. So a lot of writing. And so I still write fully in sentences, even to text my children. They hate it. They're not children. They're 20 and 23. They hate it because I use punctuation. I use actual words. I use kind of full mini paragraphs on text. I mean, if I'm trying to convey something, I want to convey it fully. And when they start hijacking the language, like you mentioned, even like with intelligence, people are intelligent. And then when you make the machine the intelligence, that's a completely separate thing because that is non-human, obviously. And so we do want to regain the words. I think that this is such a big topic. It's going to be a difficult uphill battle. It seems Elon has quite a grip. Now, I think he does some good things. I don't know that he's all bad. I think I don't know him as a person. I don't know if his heart is in a good place, honestly, or a bad place in his soul. I don't know that. I know his work with people who are paraplegic, and I have a cousin who actually is paralyzed. So in those areas, I can find myself thinking that would be great if we can really narrow it down to help specific people in that, respect. But you're right, the bots, the holograms, the fake ethereal things that we can use in our lives to enhance it, so to speak, which may ultimately not be enhancements. And there are several shows about this too. You've heard of Black Mirror, I'm sure, the show.
I don't watch TV, so.
Well, this would be, I would just say to you, I can appreciate that you don't watch TV. It's a bunch of garbage. I don't disagree with that. It's just a mind-numbing technique that we use when we are bored or just need to get away from the computer, which is just switching one for the other. But Black Mirror, it is interesting because all the things that you have talked about today and write about and have been studying for 25 years, they have specific episodes. They're short, exactly to your points, and they actually show the negative side of where all of this goes. I think there's 2 or 3 seasons of it, and so some of them are very pointed in this respect. And I think that, I don't know who writes it, I don't know which way they lean, or if it's just hey, sometimes I think what we see on TV or in movies or Netflix is them just preparing us, not necessarily a warning, although this is a warning for sure. If you watch some of these episodes, they're scary. They're absolutely scary. And it goes to everything you've said today. So just really before we wrap, because obviously we could talk about this for 2 or 3 hours, and we haven't even really delved very deeply at all. So I will encourage everyone here to go to the website readmountdoom.com. You can find Paul on Facebook and Instagram at Mount, and that is abbreviated on social, MT Doom Book. And you'll see that all on my descriptions too. So if you don't catch it now when I say it, or you don't see it on the lower thirds down there at the screen, please check out the description pages at Patriot_Mom007 and PMom007 on X, and look further into this, because we're trying to save our kids from so many things these days as parents. Even my young adult kids, I constantly trying to save them from things. And the world's a scary place. And so we do need to do our part. And to do our part, we need to understand what's happening. And to understand what's happening, we need to look a little bit further than our Netflix show or Google, whatever we're Googling that day, or Instagram scrolling. So we're all guilty of it. Although Paul, I suspect, is not as guilty as we are, because he already knows very well what that leads to. And more people should be probably in that zone, I think, these days. And we wouldn't be as far down this rabbit hole, perhaps, as we are by just buying into everything and buying everything the minute it comes out, not even understanding what it could do to us. Like phones. My son was sleeping last night. I fell asleep on the couch. I was over his house, and I went to get him to go into his room because he has work today. And I found his phone, tucked under him on the couch. I grabbed it and I said, please don't put this by your body. He's young, he's 23. We didn't even talk about the sterility factor. We, you touched on the relationship, the sexual factor, but the sterility factor is large. And that does also go to depopulation. And they know it's the problem. They know that these phones are, 10 times the amount of, radiation we should be getting, and the EMPs and all of the circuits. And yet they continue to make them smaller and more powerful every single year. With now we're at 16 or number 17 iPhones or whatever. I'm way back in the day. I try not to stay too up to date on that stuff. So I'm kind of in your camp. I don't like the newest of the new, and I don't go out and buy it. I feel like the older stuff is the better stuff always, I guess what I think. So is there anything else, though, that you would like to share before we wrap today?
Well, I'd just say that Tolkien saw this coming and wrote an incredibly entertaining and powerful mythology for an entertainment factor, because he realized that he couldn't just come out and say what he really wanted to say, because nobody would accept it and it would be crushed. They certainly wouldn't have made, a trilogy, very popular movie about it. He just allowed it to, by osmosis, seep into the whole world. And when the time was right, he knew in God's providence, someone would be able to figure it out. And that just happened to be me. And I figured the whole thing out, all the secrets, and I show exactly who all the characters are. And we have to just leave you with that Middle Earth is not this Earth. It's the material brain. Everything in the mythology goes on in our intellect, our soul. It's about a person. And it's about an individual person named Arda. And that Arda represents all of Western Christendom, as it were. And the message there is very, very challenging. And we need to take the message. And we have to do not let the machine take any portion of your competency. Do not allow the machine to do things for you. It will, little by little, in the name of efficiency, in the name of ease and productivity, it will steal your soul. And that's exactly what it's going to do. And it's going to do it to a lot of people that don't see any better. They've been brainwashed. They've been absolutely indoctrinated into the whole technical as part of their evolutionary process, because now once we were monkeys and now we're men, and it's according to evolution, our next step must be machines. And Hollywood has been banging that drum for 50 years.
That's right. As long as we've been alive.
Yep. And we have to be very careful not to take the bait. We have to practice self-discipline. There's many ways that we can do that. We have to discipline ourselves and do the things that make us competent human beings. Write by hand. Read. Don't watch TV. Pick up a book and read. Cook your own meal. Maybe grow some of your own food. Stay in touch with the Creator, and you can do that if you also stay in touch with creation. And don't be fooled by the imitation.
Yeah, so I love that. Creativity is key. Communication is key. They're going to monkeys, men, and machines. We need to keep the seas alive, right?
Yeah.
Creativism, being creative, and that does involve pen and paper, which I love to use. And that's why I write a lot. because it does keep that brain working, and full sentence punctuation and grammar matter because that conveys a full thought. And unless we're conveying full thoughts, everything gets shortened to shorthand and little letters, and then we're saying sounds again like the cavemen, and that just regresses us all the way back to the beginning. This is how I think of it as well, without knowing all the ins and outs, but this is my theory also. So I appreciate that you just reinforced what I think I've always known the last 15 or so years when I've really been paying attention. But what I do want to ask from you, though, before we sign off, because I'm going to clip this, and I need and I'm just going to ask you for it, a big smile from you right now. Can you give me that? Oh,
there we go.
Yes. So, because then we're going to, because I need that for keeping that perfect shot there. And it's such a serious topic. I mean, it's hard to really laugh through any of this because it's
sense of humor.
Scary. It's very scary.
Absolutely.
So everybody, you guys want to get out, you want to get the book Mount Doom. You can find it everywhere. You can find the links on the descriptions from Rumble, YouTube, Facebook, X Live today, Arizona Live Data on Facebook. Please join that. Check out Paul List. Check out what he's been up to for the last 25 years. This is not a small endeavor. It does take a lifetime of achievement to get there and to really research all these things that they've been putting forth and all their machines, right? And these few people that know what's happening and trying to help us, at their workload for our benefit. We want to reward that by kind of paying attention. I guess just pay attention. Pay attention to you and your family, right? That's the bottom line. So Paul,
it
was such a pleasure meeting you today. And hopefully if anything comes up, you want to share anything else in the future, you can reach out, have CJ reach out. Either way, we'd be happy to have you on again.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure being here. Great conversation. Good question.
Thank you. And when you're in Arizona at your cabin up there, you call me. I'm just a short drive down the hill.
I'm not there very much.
Well, let me know when you are.
Okay,
Have a great weekend. Thank you so much.
You too.
Thank you. All right. So that was so interesting. This is not something I tackle very often. We're in a different space a little bit, and we've been in a lot of health spaces lately, but there's so much going on in our world. We really do have to pay attention to everything. We can't stay very one-dimensional anymore because their advancements sometimes work against us. So we want to keep track and know what's happening for our own benefit and our families. And with that, we're going to start wrapping up the show. We have got, okay, this next one, we only have a couple things left. And this next one I found a la Sydney Sweeney. If you guys haven't been following the Sydney Sweeney scandal, the gal who is an actress, she's a model, she's a mechanic, she works on her Ford Mustang by herself. And she's also a big 2A proponent. She is conservative. She's a fantastic shot. We saw her on the range last week. And she has that Gene commercial out. And so this is a play on that I had. This is Ryan Fournier. If you guys don't follow Ryan Fournier on X or Facebook or Instagram, you can find him. He's got great content, and I believe he is pretty familiar with President Trump personally, so he's got some better stuff than most. But this one he put together, so let's just roll this one real fast.
Touch my swag, wish you could. I look fly, yeah. I look good. On my mama, on my hood, I look fly, yeah. I look.
Okay, 10 seconds of just pure enjoyment, laughter. So if you don't like President Trump, you can use that as your screensaver and make fun of it all day long, and you'll get a good laugh every single time if you're having a bad day. I did when I ran across it yesterday. Could not help but share it today. Not very newsworthy, but it's so ridiculous about the Gene scandal, considering Beyonce did it, now Lizzo did a thing. I mean, they're just Genes people. Like, let's be realistic. That's not what you should be worked up about. Maybe something about existential threats to your lives and your family's existence might be the more important point you should be paying attention to, not the models and the actresses. So that's a lot of distraction, I think, from what's really going on. And of course, we're going to end, as always, with our news of the MAGA Minute. This is from last week of August 1st. It's been a crazy week. We had an EU-South Korea trade deal. He's doing a peace deal today. that we'll probably hear from her next week on. We've got the crypto going strong. They did just say Jerome Powell is going to lower interest rates by September. I did hear that. It's not part of the MAGA Minute, but I did want to make note of that. Our economic growth in Q2 is very strong. The Cambodia and Thailand they have a ceasefire there. Again, he's doing another ceasefire deal today. And we have prescription drug prices are being reformed. And there's going to be a presidential fitness test going back into our schools. I think we're going to maybe try to implement it at Freedom Academy. You guys check out Freedom Academy AZ when you have a chance. If you are looking for a great place to put your kids into the next few years, we are K-8. So it's a very strong school that gives a lot of guidance. So let's hear from Caroline about all of that.
Crypto, physical fitness, and trade deals. It was another busy week at the White House. Let's break it all down in this week's MAGA Minute. The president met with the president of the European Commission, and President Trump signed a historic trade deal, with the EU agreeing to purchase $750 billion worth of U.S. energy, invest an additional $600 billion in the United States, and to open the European Union's markets to American-made goods. President Trump also secured a historic trade deal with South Korea, with Korea purchasing $100 billion worth of U.S. energy products. President Trump hosted UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer and Lady Starmer at his Trump Turnberry Golf Course in Scotland, before returning back to the States and delivering remarks on making health technology great again. The White House unveiled a report outlining a framework for achieving U.S. digital asset dominance. The U.S. economy grew at a 3.0% pace in Q2, shattering economists' expectations, with nearly 3/4 of economists surveyed by Bloomberg getting it wrong. And following President Trump's intervention, Cambodia and Thailand agreed to a ceasefire, once again saving thousands of lives. President Trump launched an AI challenge to foster the greatest AI projects across the country and propel our nation to new heights of scientific innovation and economic achievement. President Trump also sent letters to pharmaceutical manufacturers outlining the steps they must take to bring down the price of prescription drugs in the United States. The president hosted a variety of professional athletes, including professional golfers Bryson DeChambeau and Annika Sorenstam, WWE legend Triple H, Kansas City Chiefs kicker Harrison Butker, and former New York Giants linebacker Lawrence Taylor at the White House to unveil the President's Council on Sports, Fitness, and Nutrition. We are bringing back the presidential fitness test in America's public schools to make America healthy again. It was another very busy week, and we'll see you for next week's MAGA Minute.
So he's bringing in a lot of amazing people into the administration as he did his cabinet. Dean Cain, if you haven't heard, Superman, I should have worn my Superman shirt today. He just joined ICE, if you didn't know. He's going to help lead that charge. They've had 40,000 applications come over, I think LinkedIn, for Tom Homan's LinkedIn. He said he had to shut it down yesterday. So many people are wanting to join. They have a $50,000 sign-up bonus if you join ICE. They're giving benefits, IRAs, 401ks. The list is long what the benefits will be if you help our country be secure. And so we definitely want the best people, and I think they're offering the best incentives to find those. So check that out too. If you guys are looking for a job, there are plenty to be had in America these days, and we don't need other people filling them, frankly. So I think we have enough workers here. And if you're here legally, I say go for it. Find a great job. There are some things for you, definitely. Help us save our country, like our president has been doing. So with that, you guys, we're coming to the hour. And I just want to say thank you again for tuning in. If you're here now at your lunchtime and you were with us for the last hour, if you watch us later at Patriot_Mom007 on Facebook, X, YouTube, or Rumble, X again is PMom007. And Arizona Live Data, if you haven't popped on there on Facebook, we would love to have you. Please follow so that we can go live. I think we are needed 1 or 2 or 3 people. That's it. So we'd love to push that out to you on that platform as well. Also, we always want to thank Robert Johnson. He's got me on on a schedule today. So we're really working hard to like make everything better every single week. It's a progression, and I definitely couldn't do it by myself. That is a fact. I've learned that. I've done everything myself my whole life. I raised my kids myself for 20x years, and I'm used to doing that mode alone, but can't do everything alone. So it's good to have some help. And he's a great person because he knows everything that I don't, frankly. But you guys want to check him out on Facebook and X at JData17. And he's got a ton of different channels around the country, a lot in California. So if you're on that side of town, you can see what's happening with your local government at any time. Between him and Audra Morgan with Eye of the Storm, we like to talk about her as well. She puts out great content that is real content about real things happening, no fluff, no edits, no manipulation, no AI. So check them out today. We also, if you'd like to learn more about our guest Paul List, please go to Patreon_mom007 on all the channels I mentioned earlier. And you can find the descriptions for his book, Mount Doom, and to connect with him on Facebook and Instagram, I believe it is. And as always, if you don't know what's happening in your communities, you do need to get educated before you get involved. It's really important to understand the intricacies of where you can fit in to make a difference for your friends, your family, your neighbors. Actually, your district, your counties, your states, and federally, our country doesn't run on its own. We have stripped out the excess baggage, so to speak, with DOGE a few months ago. And I know a lot of people were let go. We don't need waste. We do need people in there who are effectively helping and working together to make it better for everyone and in a positive way. Get online, you guys. I didn't mention this earlier, but because we reconfigured some things, I am definitely going to show this today. Wait, there it is. Oh, okay, so I know you can see it. My Chronic Silver, you guys. Patriot Mom 007 is the code for 10% off. This is the topical healing. I told you sunburn happens here in Arizona all the time. My son took this to work for his friend. A couple days later, he brought it back and he was good to go. So the products are clean. They're all sourced and the manufacturing is amazing. We had the owner, Jeff Adam, on. Please check out that show if you want to learn more about the products. He gave us a little 101. Check back on my channels for that. And all the other products, we are working with John Richardson. I have not put that up yet, rnc.store.com. Also, Patriot Mom 007 will get you 10% off. And Nessa's Hemp, we had her on. Amazing woman doing amazing things for all of us to make us healthier. So check her out. Also, Patriot Mom 007 will get you 10% off there as well. Not up, but please check out the channels and information for your benefit. Also, elections are right around the corner. I'm going to be doing more on that here in Arizona. I just got back involved with our elections protection manual that came out from our Secretary of State, Adrian Fontes. We've already found several inconsistencies, and by inconsistencies, I mean things that they sneak in verbiage-wise, as Paul List was mentioning, with our language, changing little words here, like from shall to may or may to shall in a legal document. That means you either must or that you have the option. And these are the things we're finding. So I'm going to be trying to pitch in and help with the thousands of pages of these documents. And then we highlight them for one of our organizations here, easyaz.org. Marissa Hamilton runs that. So check them out as well. They always need volunteers. I will put that link up. I don't have it there yet, but since I'm re-involving myself with that, I want to put that out and get more people involved. And, any way that you can help would be fantastic. But you do have to vote your conscience. You get a vote. You should use it. Tell your kids if they're 18 to please use it also. But if you are voting, think about your family's long-term well-being, their safety and security first and foremost, your children's as well. If they're walking, I saw some little girl got taken in a mall the other day by an illegal, right on camera. They were able to thwart that, but he just picked her right up off the mall floor and started walking out with her. So this is happening every day and we want it to stop. Next week, we have a surprise guest. I'll leave it at that. So for now, just have a really great weekend, and I hope you're having a beautiful time with family, friends, doing something that you want to be doing. And we look forward definitely to seeing you next Friday at noon Mountain and Pacific Standard, 3 o'clock Eastern on American Perspective with your host, Noelle Roberts, Patriot Mom 007. And with that, Robert can take us out.